All right. All right. Well, let's see. What do I want to talk about while we warm up? Well, I mean, I do have Tico the Parrot up here. If you guys don't know about Tico the Parrot, you got to get learned, seriously. I mean, what a man. What a mighty good man. Yeah, let me wait and see that this actually gets started. Oh, yeah, there we go. I like to see that. Oh yeah, Tico the Parrot. So, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll do the full disclosure thing that, like, you know, I'm producing this podcast for Rolling Stone. I fucking love this podcast. It's called Don't Let This Flop. You should really be listening. One of the funnier things we discussed on it this week was Tico the Parrot, which is a parrot that sings rock songs. Kind of sounds like Axl. Man, I am really into that parrot, man. Let me tell you. Loads of fun. Before we get started, I wanted to show you all something that's kind of funny. Remember we talked about how those bot farms will find your password from one of those databases of hacked passwords, and then they'll get into your account, and because you're authentically streaming stuff on Spotify all day, then when they do the bot streams, it doesn't seem inauthentic because they're just signed in as another device. Well, couldn't be me who it happened to this week. Look at this. Yeah. So I got hacked. I had to sign out of my Spotify. And I had to sign out. You know, there's a button to sign out all devices. I had to switch the password because, yeah, somebody was driving up streams on some very, very bad songs, which will mess up my algorithm, and it's very rude. But I'm like glad I caught it. And here's the funny thing. This is the second time it's happened to me because, well, I don't do a very good job with my passwords, I guess I have to admit right now. Yeah, I mean, just like totally funny thing, but like we were talking about, you know, there's so many times friends of mine write me, and they're like, hey, what's up with this artist? They have like 200 followers, yet they have 400,000 streams in the song. And there we have our answer of how that happens. But like I said, they're starting to crack down on that. Okay, so we got business to tend to today, aside from, oh yeah, in the background of that video, you could hear Tico the Parrot singing, which is also why Tico was on top of my mind, because what a voice. Anyway, yeah, top of mind. I should say, we had a lovely, lovely discussion of this whole Halsey thing on Don't Let This Flop this week. So if you're enjoying this, my hosts are geniuses on that show, and they actually have a little bit different opinions than me. And if you're interested in this, you should really be listening to Don't Let This Flop. We had a great discussion on the week before show on how Lizzo has the first viral dance in forever and why there weren't viral dances for a while on TikTok. We get into all of it. So yeah, Rolling Stones, Don't Let This Flop, new podcast I'm producing. Please, 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 please listen. It's so good. I'm so proud of it. Okay. So you've probably heard that Halsey claims. I see. I'm going to say one thing. Max Oakland's asking, do they actually make money from those streams? They sure do, my boy. They sure do. That's part of why people do them. When you obviously have to pay the stream farms, but the reason Spotify wants that to stop is all that fraud is a lot of what costs them money, and they don't want that happening anymore. For a while, they let it happen because it would drive up streams, but they don't want it. Okay, now I'm closing the door. Halsey. Okay, so obviously this week, Halsey tweeted out this thing that, oh yeah, we could just play it, can't we? So, yeah, I mean, I think that, well, Derek, you think it's inauthentic? I don't know. I'm going to do this. You know, I was going to put this up on the screen. This is a really important thing that I try to not do because I think it makes, it's a less interesting topic to always discuss. But here's the word conjecture that I notice a lot of time when I say it, people don't know what it means. So I'm putting it up here. I'm not trying to condescend y'all, just experience is experience. But conjecture is an opinion or conclusion formed on the basis of incomplete information. I don't think it's that fun to think about the authenticity of this because I'd rather talk about my experience with what happens when I talk to teams. And I'm pretty heavily NDA'd on some of this stuff, so I can't say, especially on a live stream that's recorded to playback. But, you know, I'm in a lot of these talks with, let's just say, artists very, very close to Halsey. That's about, I think, as far as I can say without legal recourse. But I think this is real, and I think the more important discussion, because here's like another one of the articles, is like 10 artists who are talking about being forced to post on TikTok. There's a good amount to discuss in here, but like what I will say is this is I would take this at face value because here's what my experience is. And this is actually probably a very good way to bring in why I believe her. And, you know, so here's the thing today. Every time I'm out, I mean, literally, I was out on Sunday having this discussion, seeing Turnstile. I moshed. It was great. I'm too old to do that, but it was great. And like I'm talking to some music business friends, and here's the thing. In any era, there is one marketing technique that does more to market an artist than anything else. There's always one dominant thing. And TikTok is like that, like they've never seen. So let's get some important context going in this discussion. I'm going to fire up ye olde Spotify and put it on the screen. All right. And we're going to type in Halsey. So right now what's happening to, or maybe that's not the right frame. So right now, Halsey is in this place that you never want to be in as an artist. And what I mean by this is if you look on the screen right now, this is her top 10 most listened to songs in recent times. As we all know, that's what Spotify does here. And, you know, this is a rolling count of what's currently popular. So you're like, wow, yeah, well, she has a song with 2 billion plays, Jesse. Seems like things are going right. Here's the thing you're probably overlooking. Halsey's latest record debuted at number 2, just like the last one did. Great. That's a very good look in the music business. But what makes teams panic, particularly your label and your manager, and I know because this is usually when they come calling me, freaking the fuck out for a consult call, is when your last record, being this one, you see that album cover? You notice what's not in this top 10? Yeah, that's not a good place to be. Particularly, what you also don't want to have, this should have the distinction as well, even though the title's not the thing, is these are actually other artists' songs that she's just a featured artist on, as is this. I think even maybe that one might be, am I wrong? So that is not a thing that makes teams happy, because the fact is if you have 2 records that fail, your career is usually over. You can have a rare Green Day American Idiot resurgence, but that is more rare than anything else. So here's the thing. Anytime you're on an artist team and you're an artist, there's basically a war of that an artist is often this person who's in the trenches. They're talking to all their other artist friends, and they're learning some stuff, and they're coming back to their team and saying, yo, we should do a video. Da-da-da-da, said this, did this for this career, that we should do something like that. And then on the other side, the team is going, hey, we've been working with all these other artists because we work with all these other artists. It's the greatest advantage major labels have is they see what's working for one thing, their heads in the game, they're going out drinking with other people in the thing, they're talking about what works, they see best practices, and what they hear is, and then they go, we should be doing best practices. So here's the thing. One, if you're on someone's team, you have a boss to answer to. And that boss wants you to do right and doesn't want you to have another failure, or else that's a mark of failure on your board, and that is on you. I have bosses, for example, and if I don't grow things, like say this podcast I'm promoting, I'm not going to be smiled upon by my bosses. I'm hired to make growth happen. When I get calls to do marketing strategy, if they don't work, they will stop calling me. Thank God that never happens. Anyway, my point here being, these people on her team are trying to get her to do what works overwhelmingly well. And I was just talking about this. Literally, Lizzo is tearing up the charts and having unprecedented for her fast growth on a song, because that song is a TikTok dance that is exploding. It is a huge trend. Getting these TikTok moments, it's unprecedented what that does. So here's the thing. What my assumption, and now we're getting into, yet again, conjecture, my Occam's razor from being around this, and it's a little less than most conjectures because I've just been in these meetings a lot, is an artist gets done with a song, and here's what they do every time. Can we just drop it on Friday? And then the label says, we'd really like to have some marketing around it, especially when your last release went down, because here's the thing. A label having an artist who is a formidable force in the music business, that's most of what generates the revenue for labels. And keeping them going and snowballing and getting that snowball bigger and bigger as it gets pushed with all the ice, that's what drives labels' revenue and management teams' revenue. Not just 10 small artists, but like the big one getting even bigger and staying that way. When you've just had, you know, what some people call a down round, a record that really did not hit, yet again, did not hit, you're trying to save that artist from doing it, and you're like, can we just do it? Now she's like, I have done 8 records, I've sold 165 million records, I just want to release music, I'm tired. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're tired. And what the label's saying is like, yo, like a TikTok takes like 30 minutes. Like we could just brainstorm on this for a while and you could just do it. If you wait 2 weeks, maybe we'll have the marketing plan. And if I'm being honest, I've watched artists throw fits on social media over much less. In fact, I may have watched that in the last few weeks. So I think like there's this big thing here that like, I believe this is real. A lot of people are making conspiracy theories because she says everything is marketing in the video, and like, you know, here's the thing. Here's some stacked evidence. So there's this great BuzzFeed article, and it's 10 times that artists would say it. It's like, you know, there's this tweet here that like about all the artists saying it. So, you know, first we have that Halsey tweet that started all this conversation. We have Florence the Machine saying they begged for lo-fi TikToks, and like, I get it. I don't feel like Florence's brand is going to be very enforced by TikTok. You know, it's kind of like Adele also said that they asked her to do TikTok, and she famously quoted and said, I'm not doing that. I don't think really Adele needs to be doing it. You know, Ed Sheeran probably could be being effective with it. And he actually did a pretty good TikTok that got a lot of shares off of it. This one was interesting. This is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this. So recently on the podcast, La Culturistas, I hope I'm not gringoizing that too hard, Betty who's an independent artist, shared her gripes with the music industry. There's not a single record label in this town that will sign me. They all turn me down. And this is where it's shifting, is labels go, we want to sign people with a viral hit on TikTok only. I'm not going to wake up and all of a sudden be really good at TikTok. So me being an older person on an app trying to force it will not make it any better. So Betty Who is like a buzzy artist. I get recommended her songs a lot on my Spotify. She seems to be doing very well independently. And like, she does have some points there, but I also like keep getting this with this thing is that there's this constant thing. And this is like the same way that, you know, like I'm of an advanced age, you know, that's the way what we call old now, where the only way you stay young and young spirited is putting effort in. And it's the same thing. A lot of times artists just like, they're like tired. They don't want to learn, but that's how you get obsoleted. And like, in all honesty, I've interviewed a lot of washed artists, and they always talk about this moment where they refused to keep going with it because they decided it was against their brand. And that's usually a lot of the time the end of their career. And, you know, I could see somebody in the comments saying, is this just another reason to stay independent? It's like, I'm going to be honest with you. And yes, A Gen X, you can't force a viral moment anyway. You can't force, but you can do smart things that often work. Chadwick Johnson of the amazing band 100th just says, hey, how could I stay relevant? You know how you're staying relevant, Chadwick? You just dropped one of the best songs of the year. That's how. Everybody should listen to 100th's new single. I've been listening to it nonstop. They really are put out one of my favorite records of, I think it was 2 years ago, 1 year ago. What is time anymore when we're all bundled up in our houses? I don't know. But 100th are an amazing band. Great to see you here, Chadwick. And also, I interviewed Chadwick on the channel. If you all haven't watched that, you really should. Anywho, here's what I was saying. There is a place for you to express your authentic self on TikTok. I'm tired of hearing that it's just dances. Literally, I was just saying how Lizzo's new hit is like the first big dance in a minute. People's assumption of what TikTok are right now are totally fucking dumb. It's just as dumb as when everybody was saying Instagram is just pictures of food and fitness flat T tummy people, when really like 9 months later, my dad was taking pictures of sunsets on there or a picture of our fucking cat. Like, it's no longer a place that's just youth. So I don't know. Like, I think being an old person on that, I think it's a really silly thing to say. I like this Maggie Rogers one. She's, for someone whose music I don't enjoy, I love her presence on line. Not me drunk at 2 a.m. in the East Village, remembering someone is going to yell at me in the morning to post on TikTok. Pretty sure that's the bathroom of Welcome to the Johnsons, a bar I unfortunately have probably gotten way too drunk in one too many times. Anyway, here, I actually will tell you this too. I go out with friends and they talk about how they have to remind artists that they should think of a TikTok each day. But here's the thing, and there's another one down here. This is the one I'm looking for. When my label tells me I got to make 2 TikToks a day, from Omar Apollo. I think there's an interesting thing is like, there's this word in the headline. Labels are allegedly gatekeeping their releases unless they go viral. The word force is being used a lot. I don't actually think force is the right word. They're telling them to do it. And in all honesty, I bet you with Halsey's label, if it's going like I think it is they're trying to come up with another marketing idea, which does take time. I mean, I'm pretty fucking fast on the marketing ideas. I've talked about literally last week with the way I come up with them, the way I get inspired with them. And still, that doesn't mean they're always all good if I go fast. It takes days. It takes talking to people. It takes brainstorming sessions. It takes getting dates on people's calendars to know how to do marketing well. And like, yeah, I don't know, man. I like, this all seems to me like it's a lot of label people being like, this will really help us all succeed. Can you put some effort in? And as I've said before, and this is probably going to be my closing thought on this, I may look through the questions a little bit. But I know a lot of you bitch about how much work it is. It's a lot of work, but I'm yet again telling you, as a fucking old person, this is an era where you have to do less work than you've ever had to do. The 90s were hell for artists. Watch documentaries on all the shit they had to do. Watch Radiohead meeting people is easy. See all the things an aspiring band used to have to do back then. It'd be 24 hours of soul draining shit. TikToks really don't take that long. And I would never begrudge a musician for complaining, I wish we could all just make art, but that's never been the case. It was much more the case when there was a lot more funding in the business. And yet again, one of the things I want to really get into on this live stream is how we get more funding. It's going to be the topic for either next week or the week after's live stream, is some of my ideas on how we bring funding back into music. Because I think that will solve a lot of your problems, in that, you know, it used to be that a band with around what's called the equivalent of 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify would be able to have somebody doing a lot of the work for them. And that did differentiate some things, but that's another story for another time. Okay, I'm going to look through these questions on this subject and the commentary, because y'all have lit up the comments like I've never seen on the stream before, which I'm loving. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to close on this subject after that's done. Okay, Benny Hunnett said Halsey dropped an album. No, we're talking about that last one that Nine Inch Nails produced. Louis Lazuka says, so TikTok rules the word. Interesting point of view. I mean, I can say this. I don't think there's ever been a more determinative app, small thing you could do that could revive a song. I mean, it's a great idea or a great campaign can do more on TikTok for no money than ever. And that's kind of a cool thing. I think it's one of the things that musicians don't get emboldened about, is that if you spent time right now learning TikTok and a good strategy like Lil Nas X did with Old Town Road. He was an unsigned artist. That was not some industry plant shit. Fuck off if you say that. I won't even give it the time of day. He had a finger on the pulse, still does. That was incredible. It was insane, and he engineered the most successful song of all time now. By some metrics, I should say. I don't want to get into the debates of that. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, some real silence in my mic, huh? So I read these comments. One day I'm going to have an assistant to do this. Keith Dominique asks, is one TikTok a day enough? Here's my theory on TikTok. And if some of you follow me on there, you know I was posting a lot more. Try to be consistent and post the same amount every week. Whatever that is for you, find it. I was growing really fast doing 3 a week. And if I'm being honest, I got this new job at Rolling Stone. I still work 300 other jobs. I've just not been feeling it. I have some great ideas. I need a minute to recharge, because at the end of the week, I want to die. I work so much. So it's just not happening. Do your best. That's all you can ask. Even just doing your best does a lot of growth for a lot of people. It finds a lot of fans. I've gotten so many cool people that I've been doing consulting with and viewers of the channel from TikTok lately, and had no idea about me for the 2 years I was toiling away on YouTube. It grew the channel. It's amazing what it can do. Max Oakland says, I feel like an idiot when it comes to TikTok. Should I just post completely random things that come to mind but seem stupid? Max, no. Here's what you do. Start a new account. For 3 hours, you're going to train the TikTok algorithm. Every time you see something that's not a musician you like posting, you click the not interested button. Every time you see something that you like, you hit heart and comment on it. And in 3 hours, TikTok will show you nothing but other musicians making content. Watch that regularly, get inspired for what you could do, work from there. Okay, Millennial Animal, I'm going to paraphrase because I know what you mean. Do you think YouTube content can be as effective as making TikToks? Making videos about music production, etc., involving your audience, involving your music, I'm sorry. Yes, I mean, as effective is hard to say because it's a very hard thing to quantify there, but it can be extremely effective and the ROI can be incredible, but really the juice is in doing both of them. Okay, I'm seeing more and more questions that are not about this subject that I'm going to answer at the end in the QA. I don't really have a lot of other subjects to discuss, so I will get in there. Let's go to the other things I wanted to discuss this week. Let me just do the usual, get a nice long sip of water. Wow, we did a half hour on that. That's wild. Okay, cool tweet from Benedict Evans here. So Benedict, if you don't know, if you're like somebody who's really interested in tech, this guy's a really good follower. I don't always agree with him. He's a little more capitalist than my taste. But this guy has really, really interesting analysis. He has a great newsletter. But he puts up some very good, like, let's look at this from another angle type of stuff on Twitter that I really like sometimes. He had this amazing chart that I wanted to discuss real quick. So here was his thing. Music versus the App Store. So this dotted line is downloads of music since, or it looks like that's about 2003 when the iTunes Store comes into prominence, and then 2020 today. And then this here is music streaming, so that would have been eMusic, which was one of the first music sites, maybe Rhapsody. And then you see, but here's the funny thing, when we all talked about how big downloads were, so that was about 2013 at its peak, which makes sense. That's when the first Get More Fans came out. All I talked about was downloads at that point. So by 2016, we're bigger than that, and ever since then, it's been bringing in more revenue. But then hilariously, here's just Apple's commission on apps. Just the money they take from apps. Now, Apple is the largest company in the history of capitalism. They exceeded oil companies by double now. It's fucking gross. But this is one of those things that I want to get into. This is an interesting thing. It's at least partly the fact that games are a much bigger industry than music. The entire recorded music industry was $35 billion in 2020. So that's I always say 1999, 2020 are the debatable peaks of the music industry income. No one talks about that. But you know what's funny is we're getting close to that number again. Like, I want to say that I read that we were at 25 billion. Gen X asks, is Apple larger than Amazon and Facebook in income? Yes, by a lot, which is also fucking crazy. But Amazon spends so much money doing what they can't profit as much. There's just the cost of all the bullshit, whereas Apple's just selling data, and I'm not even data. Apple's selling bytes and bits back to people all day and taking commissions off other people's work. So they have a profit model that just works insanely. Not having to always sell tangible things really is how you make that money. Okay, so I thought that was really interesting. The last thing I wanted to discuss this week, it was pretty interesting. Universal dumps DIY distribution as SpinUp goes invite only. So SpinUp was one of these sites where you could, I can't remember if it was totally free. I know there's this other one like Audium, I can never remember, but Warner had one where what you would do is you could upload your songs for free. And the reason they did that is they would then have internal analytics that the A&R could read. And then they could see what songs were trending and try to sign the artists first that were trending. So SpinUp was Universal's one like this. They were able to see internally which songs are trending. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting that they're changing this, because what they're now becoming is they're becoming like a United Masters AWOL STEM thing. So if you don't know what that is, DistroKid, anybody can upload. TuneCore, anybody can upload. CDBB, anybody can upload. But those three, you have to get accepted, and then they'll do playlist pitching or other marketing for you, brand deals, all sorts of things. At some point, I'm going to do a interview with somebody at United Masters to talk about a little bit more what they do, since I have friends there and they're going to come on. But this is interesting because I think a lot of these labels are seeing that it's just not worth it to mine those artists. And there's so many tools like Chartmetric, which we've been discussing a lot on this channel, can monitor this stuff really easily and effectively for them. So like, why bother with a site that's basically like a money drain, since artists were uploading for free or nearly free? But it's interesting they're now going to shift this to a model where they're going to do distribution and try to catch artists who've already done a little well but aren't quite ready for a major label, and then try to funnel them in that way, since that is where the real money is. Okay, so we got through the current events. This is the time where I need your questions. So I'm going to pick up this iPad. I'm going to scroll backwards and find the questions you guys were asking that weren't on TikTok. So I'm going to start back a little bit and try to find those. But yeah, this is also to say, if you have questions, put them in here, because when we run out, I'm going to stop this stream, or we're going to stop at 7 because I got to go get dinner with friends. Okay, so Louis Lazuka says, my question is, after watching your videos, I only know it when it works when you're part of the culture. I like to use the word community, but sure. So it's kind of pointless to come up with a marketing strategy. I don't know where you're deducting that from. A marketing strategy is usually like how you're going to position yourself compared to other artists, things you can do to engage fans, what you do for videos, all that stuff makes a huge difference. I would literally say quite the opposite. Somebody's got to let me know if there's an easier way to do this at some point, or I'm just going to have to start having an assistant send this stuff to me. Okay. So Wormser says, it's fine to market your music on TikTok, but you shouldn't make a song for the sole purpose of going viral on TikTok, right? Listen, yet again, I wrote a whole book on this. You know, you can buy it anytime you want. You can, as I told you last week, if you go to the podcast called Noise Creators, you could scroll down and I put up the whole audiobook for free. I don't care how you consume it. You can pay me, you cannot pay me. I don't care. I just want the ideas out there. The only way you make great music is if you make music that is a powerful emotion to you first, and then the world connects with it. If you try to make music to go viral, barring comedy, which still is you finding something funny, still the same thing, you are not going to go viral, my guy. Music only works one way. It takes many musicians a lifetime to learn this. You can't make music that other people want to hear. You have to make the music you want to hear, and that's powerful to you, or else you don't have emotional guidelines. Okay. Millennial Animal says, unless I could do something creative with it, it feels forced. I think you find a way to make promo something you enjoy, it'll be easier. Also, age. If your music is timeless, why should it matter? I can't quite decipher what you're saying there. If you want to put that question up and try to phrase it in a way someone else can understand a little better, I'd appreciate it. Kumo77 says, hi, Jesse. One question. What's smarter? Re-promoting an old song that got some traction or re-releasing on Spotify so you can pitch it to playlists if you missed out on it before? Why not both? Yeah, go all out. If you're going to re-promote a song, push it as hard as you can. Make a big deal of it. Say, and literally, I've said this before, and I made that video on back catalog marketing. You can lie, and no one's going to say, man, so many people have told me how much they love this song, so I'm giving it another push. And people will buy that bullshit, and they'll pay more attention to it. Okay, I see Louis Lazuka says, do you think artists should embrace the TikTok organic reach and community building with duets? Yes, I do. Also, let me tell you all this, guys. It is really important you put the fucking question mark after your questions, or else I sometimes skip them. I'm literally looking at the end of sentences to try to speed read through all these comments when I'm looking for these, so I may miss it. Okay, duets are amazing. Doing those verse challenges, doing all that stuff, especially if it's within your community, that is literally how people are making fans. It's one of the most important reasons to be on TikTok these days. If you could do fun, cool, passionate things with that, that is one of the most powerful things about TikTok. Okay. Okay, Harmony Dreamers asked a question that I'm probably going to put a ban on soon because I've answered it a lot. What do you think about releasing a single every week or every day, then the album? No, it's too much. I've explained this in a lot of videos. The human attention span, that's too much for it. It makes people feel like you're throwing shit at the wall instead of you actually care about it. You have to put value around your songs. You have to show people that you cared enough to create things around it. They don't pay attention if they just see you throwing shit at the wall all the time. Louis Lazuka asks, did you make a video already on how to come up with ideas? Yeah, I did. It's very old. It's probably like my 10th or 20th video, but it's something like how you come up with a music marketing plan. A Gen X says, what's your main source of income at this point? I produce podcasts for 4 different media companies: Rolling Stone, The Daily Beast, Airmail, The Griot, and I do a couple of independent ones. That is my day job. I need something aside from this, or else I'd hang myself if I did this all day. That's by far my main source of income because my podcasts tend to be very successful. So, Cupid and the Cowboy says, we are releasing a song on June 3rd. What's the best, newest game plan for a successful release? Okay, this is really easy, and I don't push this enough. If you go on my channel page, there's a playlist. In fact, let's just do this. I will show you something I've been doing on my YouTube channel. You see this thing that says guides? I have all these different guides and subjects, but you see this one here, how to get people to notice your music? This one here has just 14 videos. I think you can watch it in like an hour and a half. And this is basically the most TLDR of all my music and marketing ideas. If you just wanted a quick breeze on how to market your music in the modern day, this is my playlist on that. It's the fastest way to learn all that stuff. The other things I'll show you guys that I have on here is there's that series on how to build a music community, and then there's previous live streams. So if you ever miss one of these, I know a lot of you have been tuning in. You can go here to watch. YouTube now has that thing that you don't have to be in the locks. You can still play in the lock screen, so you can listen to this like a podcast. I haven't been uploading them as podcasts yet. I may do that at some point. But you can watch all past live streams here. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. Aerodonis Music says, do you have any tips for fixing a TikTok account that is pulling in the exact wrong kind of people? Some content that did okay with boomer EVH guitar players. Oh, that's cursed. But I make bedroom pop. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you got to rid yourself with some new hashtags. Some people even delete some of the worst performing videos so that it just stops pulling in the garbage. I've heard of this happen. Somebody even told me one time, I talked to a YouTube consultant, and they told me to delete some of my videos because it pulls in the worst people ever. And they're totally right. And I honestly did delete one of them because it was pulling in horrible, horrible people. Benny Hunnett says, seriously, I'd grow my fan base by taking these gems to live videos and chopping them up. I am doing that every once in a couple of videos I've made from chopping these up. I'm going to continue doing that. Okay, the Crystal Casino Band. If you have a deal with your producer that they own a tiny percentage of the master and a company offers to buy your back catalog for a recoupable advance, does your producer get that advance too? Okay, this is a really interesting one. Most of these deals are really malleable, and unfortunately, most producers are used to getting fucked in them. This is your decision to do right by your producer. You go to them or their manager and you discuss something. That really is the thing. I mean, all these deals, especially producer contracts, I've seen a million producer contracts. You got to remember, I had a whole startup where we basically did a lot of producer management that I had years ago. I've seen every contract in the business. They're not very solid contracts. You got to just do right by people. Okay, Harmony Dreamers says, if all the promo and everything is ready and plans to promote, what do you think of releasing a song every week or every day? No, we just did that one. We're not doing that again. Max Oakland, how do I find a music mentor in LA? Also, I want to just make sure I didn't skip anything. No, I am caught up. Finding a mentor a lot of times is you got to go out, you got to find stuff in community, and then you got to offer someone some value. A good example is people ask me to mentor them all the time, but I'm like, so you're going to annoy me, a person who already works 16 hours a day and asks questions for free? I can't do that. I do offer to people who are students looking for some guidance. I always offer a 20-minute call for free if they're really confused about what to do with college. I do that for free because it's the right thing to do. But no, you got to offer value to people, and that's really, really crucial. All right. Emily Rose says, do artists appreciate fan tattoos? I think most of the time. I've seen some get real scared by them. One of my friends, let's say he's in a band that had a lot of platinum records, and we were once in Whole Foods, and he was really worried about his partner breaking up with him, and we're sitting there, and a guy comes over to us, starts undoing his pants, and pulls down his jeans to show us that on the top of his leg, he got that artist lyrics tattooed on him. But we, of course, thought he was going to expose himself to us in the middle of the Whole Foods. But he kind of didn't read the room that my friend was like tearing up. And it was real fucking awkward. And I had to pretend to be his manager and shoo him away. So I think most time, yes, but there's some cases where not so much. Electric Purple says, some people overthink this age thing way too much. It's about perception, which is very easily warped. I think we're entering an era where people are caring less and less about age because they hear the songs before they know anything about the artist, which is really turning the tide. I think we're going to see some old-ass people getting very famous soon. And I mean, I don't mean like Susan Boyle old, but I think we're going to get a lot more of that. Millennial Animal says, how do you start a genuine community? Every music community online I've been involved in seems artists trying to get other artists to listen to their music. No strictly listeners in there. Yeah, those are the low quality pieces of shit ones. And those, it's sometimes tough to go to find more than that. A lot of time you got to go deeper. I see it all the time. I'll join something that I'm like, this is a terrible one, whereas other ones are really, really good. I'm involved in a few Discords and 2 subreddits where I really don't get that. It's just all great recommendations. I'm going to say this too. I may have missed some of these questions. So if I didn't answer your question, feel free to put it back in the chat since we're getting towards the end of these. Have you ever thought of starting a hyperpop label since you seem to be informed on the genre and the industry as a whole? Zarem asks. No, I'm just going to be honest. When I was a young man, built a lot of musicians' careers by being very hands-on. That is exhausting, and I'm only interested in doing that for podcasts right now because, if I'm being honest, it's a lot more mature people and a lot more stable people than musicians, and I've been burned by putting a lot of effort into unstable musicians over the years. Podcasts, it's just, I'll have some big announcements soon, but like my podcasts grow really well. It's what I enjoy. It gives me a part of me that I enjoy. I love hyperpop. In fact, like I've been talking a lot on these streams about Delete Zeke. It's like I got tickets to see him next week. Like there's things that are really exciting to me. I love these artists. I'd love to be close to them, but I aged out of the level of stress that it takes. I need a more chill life than that. But I do appreciate the encouragement. Sounddeath says, still finding the final member of our band, bassist. We have written a lot of songs, but no final recordings. My dad and I are the guitarists. Can we attack social media as if we were a full band? No one cares if you're a full band or not. They just care about good music. I mean, look at Spirit Box. Spirit Box, we know, are like the couple in the band, and then like there are other members. No one gives a fuck that it's not a real band. I mean, Periphery is one of the biggest bands, and like they were like not really a band when they started. It was just Misha like collaborating with people. Like, you don't need to be a real band. No one cares as long as the songs bang. No one gives a fuck anymore. Max Oakland has a follow-up question. What kind of value do you think someone needs to offer for a mentor, or you specifically? What do you think you'd need? A lot of the time it's doing shit work. In all honesty, with some of my mentors, I mean, Steve Evans, the amazing, amazing producer. Steve was my top 2 favorite. Here's the funny thing. I worked for both of my favorite producers of all time. When I was coming up, I first started working for Steve Evans, who produced a bunch of my favorite records, and I just started doing drum triggers and drum edits, like the most boring work on earth from. Got that gold record back there? That's from being valuable to Steve and having him mentor me. And then he introduced me to Ross Robinson, and I worked for Ross Robinson for a lot of years. That's how I worked with The Cure and Limp Bizkit. And that was by being helpful and doing shit work they didn't want to do. And, what was nice is I got paid because the music business was abundant. But in all honesty, I pay a lot I have a lot of assistants that I've paid a lot of money to over the years. I pay money to people to do things for me all the time. I mean, being helpful to somebody. I mean, in all honesty, one of my friends, the person makes them fucking smoothies while they work out, and then they drink that smoothie, and the person can ask them questions while they walk to the office. Let me see. Zarem asks, where are the subreddits you're involved in? I follow, there's this... this might be too embarrassing. I follow a lot of typical, I don't use my proper name, but let's say this. I participate on some left-wing downtown New York subreddits, and, I'm obviously interested in Piper Pop. I do some discords around that. I don't use my name, but I am in Anthony Fantano's Discord a good deal. Underscores the group has a great Discord. Oh yeah, Dylan Lundgren, great point. Moon is like that too. They don't actually have a drummer or a bassist. Yeah, no one cares about if it's a real band. Labrea says, is there something to do to get better retention when a song is on playlists? Seed streams isn't equaling retention. Time to promote next song. Yeah, the best thing you can do is release another song because people want to fill their addiction to you. But also it is keeping people engaged on social media as they follow you and they're building a song with you. If they're seeing you do cool things, that's when they're reminded to share and say, you know, this person's really fucking cool. You know, the other day I was like, there haven't been a lot of records I've been really loving like I've been talking about. I love that Delete Zeke record. But like that's really, that and the new Eric Doa are all I'm listening to, so I'm like a little spread thin on new music right now. So I was going back through one of my playlists trying to find songs, and like I started seeing it and I'm like, why did I stop listening to this artist? And I see they stopped posting on social media for months on end. Oh, great thing to do a month after you just had a banger of a song do well on a big playlist. A lot of this is keeping people engaged. Okay, Nick Krizinis, do you think there are any general or all-encompassing guidelines for musicians of advanced ages that are playing in indie rock or other styles that are generally dominated by younger artists? Well, here's the first one. Get over the younger artist thing. 2, it's harder to find community in that, but you gotta suck up that some of the conversations are gonna be real boring because you're talking to 22-year-olds and you're not a 22-year-old. And that's not always fun when you're older, but you gotta suck it up and do it. I know a lot of people who've gotten up over that. But really too, I think there's like the funny thing that like over the years, a lot of these musicians who've pulled this off, who are of advanced age, there's, you know, I was talking about it like the other day that like, there was this group Uncle that some people of an advanced age will remember. There it was like the record executive then would work with producers to do things, but the record executive never really showed himself in it. They'd just make really artsy music videos so he wouldn't have to be the face of it. Then when they do promotional photos, a lot of shadow is on his face. Like if you Google, it's UNKLE. In fact, you know what? I'll do it and see if I can prove myself right here. That if you do an image search, I bet you nearly every image. Oh, look at that. I am very right. Very shadowy, dark. Oh, look, blood all over. Oh, can't quite tell the age because, oh, it's a very unclear picture. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. Louis Lazuka, with TikTok being part of a label marketing budget now, what does this mean for smaller artists trying to make it, or is there no better opportunities than now? Part of a label budget. So this is a weird thing. Like I've never seen a budget where we put TikTok in a budget. Granted, it takes employees time to brainstorm with you. I've just never, well, actually I should say this. TikTok influencer marketing goes in a budget, but that's a totally different story. I feel like we're not talking about influencer marketing. But if we are, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what I've been budgeting when I've been telling people to budget lately. But yet again, I've seen a couple 100,000 streams for a new artist is huge, and I've seen that done for $1,000 more than 4 times now with projects I've known and been a part of. So there you go. Okay, you guys should get your questions in since we're getting to the end of this 56 after. I'm going to read through some of these. I'm going to probably bounce some of these if I've answered them before. The Justice Price, I've answered that in a video. I'm going to skip it. Muddy Animal, I'll have to talk about Robert Smith another time. How good should your stats be before? Fear to Stop. How good should your stats be before pitching the Spotify editorial playlist? If you're around 700 monthly listeners or under 300 monthly listeners, is a waste of time? Absolutely not. People get on those playlists, especially the smaller ones that feed up. If you watch my literal last video that I put up, I talk about how there's the smaller playlists that go on journeys to the bigger ones. People get on those smaller ones all the time when they have very little Alex Artificial, time budget. Yeah, time budget is a concept I talk a lot about on the consulting calls about how I would split up somebody's time. I have the same thing in my life. Like I try to budget my time every week about what I can do. I do it according to what the priorities are in my life. For a good example is like right now I'm trying to grow this, so I budget a lot of my time towards that. I'm gonna skip that. I talk about that a lot. Ben asks, Shurst, this is a good question. I'm a few days away from graduating uni with a degree in music management. What is the most important thing you only learn working through in the industry? A lot of that is, I don't think universities are good at teaching expectations, and you learn a lot about people management. There's no way to learn that otherwise. But I have an interesting thing for you on that. I've written 2 books on some of the people management things you need to know, and they're taught at a bunch of those universities on music management. Give me a second to get water. Here's a fun thing I tell people all the time. When my friends are dealing with nightmare artists, I always tell them to read a couple books on marriage counseling and divorce, and then they learn how to deal with the artist better, particularly the 4 love languages. And then there's like this couple that wrote a couple books together that are really popular if you went to the top of Amazon on it. Honest to God, learning about relationship maintenance is the #1 thing they don't teach you about managing artists that you need as an artist manager. If I'm being honest too, I often look back on my breakup with the band Man Overboard. That wouldn't have happened if I had read those marriage counseling books a few years earlier. At least it wouldn't have happened in the same way it did, but I didn't manage myself properly when dealing with their emotions. Okay, this is going to be the last one I answer with the last 2 minutes, which is Eric Salazar. Okay, wait, how do I communicate with people better? Okay, everyone has their own individual struggle with how they're communicating, but I've learned to do this better. There's this book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, something like that. Here, hold on, I forgot I can do this. Yeah. Okay. This book taught me a lot about communicating with people. There's also this philosophy that you have to learn how to reprimand people when they're doing something wrong in the way that they can hear it. This is very similar to that divorce book, The 4 Love Languages. Here's a great example. I have a lot of employees at my studios. One of my employees, I'd yell at him and he'd start crying, and I never want to have to hug someone when they're crying. I don't want to make anybody cry. I'm not a fucking monster of a human. But I'd get mad because he would keep doing things that I'm like, you can't do this. So I'd say, I want you to imagine I'm so mad I'm yelling. Another one of them, I have to compliment them so often or else they feel they're doing a bad job. You have to learn what people need and then adapt to their own needs if you want to do it. I know that's a lot of emotional labor. We all talk about this emotional labor thing these days, but if you're trying to do things with people and you want them to be successful, well, you fucked up if you don't want to do emotional labor, because that's the work. Okay. I think that is it. Okay. I'm going to say this. Crank Monkey, maybe. Any advice for someone who can't get their ADHD and depression under control enough to actually make artistic progress? I've been writing a video forever on how I attempted suicide numerous times as a kid. I was brutally depressed. I haven't been that way in 25 years. I am old. Let's remember. I'm going to do a big, long thing on that, but maybe I'll even do a live stream on managing your emotions. I think this is actually a thing people talk to me about that I have a lot to say on. I am going to release a long, really brutally honest video about this at some point, but now is sadly not the time. But I may do a live stream before I put that video out because it'll probably help me get some good ideas. Okay, you guys are the best. Honestly, we had the most people here yet again. I am so psyched on the questions you guys have. You guys are the best community. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a good night. I gotta go eat some Vietnamese food and get drunk.